So, episode 2 of How to Fly Twin-Engined Aircraft. This is my second attempt at recording this. We're not quite on a third yet, but this second attempt at recording this because I forgot to press record last time. I got about 8 minutes in and realised, oh, I didn't press F9. So anyway, this is attempt 2. And today we are covering twin-engined aircraft. Not twin-engined bombers, twin-engined fighter aircraft. I will cover all types of bombers, single-engined, twin-engined. I'm not going to go over three-engined jet bombers and four-engine bombers in next video and their uses. That's going to be quite a long video. It's going to take quite a lot of time to create. But as you can see, our twin-engined aircraft for today is the P-38. I was juggling with the idea of using the Mosquito, the Mozzie, but I decided no, because it originally started out life as a bomber, and although it was converted to a fighter later on as such, well, not really a fighter, a ground attack aircraft almost, but I thought the P-38 is a dedicated fighter anyway, apart from some later variants where it actually for some reason had a bomb aimer in the front. I have no idea why Lockheed would put a bomb aimer in the front of an aircraft like this, but you know. So, standard takeoff procedure in a P-38 is no different from a standard takeoff procedure in a single-engined aircraft. But something to note with the P-38 is that the propellers rotate in opposite directions, meaning that one propeller rotates in one direction, the other propeller rotates in another direction, which means there is no torque acting on the aircraft. In the last episode, when we were flying the Buffalo, notice how I had to control the aircraft on the ground with rudder. Well, we don't with the P-38, because the aircraft wants to fly in a straight line normally. When we first power up, it's going to veer off to the left, so there is going to be a bit of rudder needed. But other than that, it will just take off on its own, especially with the takeoff flaps. This variant of P-38 will want to take off on its own. So, something else I forgot to mention last video is radiators as well. Radiators can be set to automatic on certain aircraft. And that doesn't mean that when the engine starts to overheat, they open on their own. It basically means the lower the throttle, the further open the radiators are. When the throttle is zero, they're all the way open. When the throttle is on full, they're closed. Now, radiators, when they're open, create drag. And drag's going to slow you down. So if it's speed you're after for a short period of time, close the radiators. But if you're going to be doing cruising for a long time and you want to be running at full throttle, leave the radiators open. It's the best bit, really. Instead of just travelling along at 80% throttle with the radiators closed, radiators open, 100% throttle should be just fine. So, control surfaces on the P-38 are no different from that on any other aircraft. You've got your ailerons, you've got your elevators, and we have the rudders. But something to notice first with the P-38 is, with complex engine management and separate engine start, we need to select each engine and start it manually. So, if we select engine 1, start that, and we select engine 2, we can start that. And then we need to select both engines to avoid just throttling one up. As you can see, both engines started. Now, it did sort of move slightly, but we're not going to worry about that. So, takeoff flaps down, and I'm actually going to show you P-38 taken off now. When we get in the air, I'm going to run through the basic differences and controls from a single-engined aircraft, because there are certain differences in twin-engined aircraft that you need to be aware of. Certain things are going to be different in an aircraft, such as the P-38, that wouldn't apply in a single-engined aircraft like the Buffalo from the last video. So, as usual, we're going to throttle up gently, and as I said, we just want a bit of rudder on the right, and then the aircraft should take off on itself. So, I'm going to leave it like that. Now, that's not takeoff there. That is just the nose wheel lifting up. The P-38 does that. It doesn't look like it's up, but it is, and that's it. We're up 130 miles an hour with takeoff flaps. The P-38 will gladly take off on its own. So, gear up. We'll set the flaps back, and that's it. I'm going to leave the aircraft at full throttle for the minute until we get up to about 200. About now. throttle back to about 60% throttle. Now, something to note with twin-engined aircraft is they are nowhere near as manoeuvrable as a single-engined aircraft. Oh, there's a canopy bug. A twin-engined aircraft cannot turn as well as a single-engined aircraft, and with good reason. The wingspan on a twin-engined aircraft is a lot greater than that on a single-engined aircraft. In most cases, this means that the force needed to make the aircraft roll and turn the aircraft is a lot greater. Now on the P-38 this isn't really helped by the two massive pylons that hold the engines together, but that's not entirely relevant at the minute, so we won't go over that. So apart from turning and rolling, the aircraft behaves pretty much exactly the same to a single-engined aircraft in the air. Now, before I go any further, something that I want to make clear is twin-engined aircraft aren't immediately faster than a single-engined aircraft. Yeah, the Lightning's pretty fast, but the reason for that is the power plant that it's got. The Lightning originally had very underpowered engines when the RAF ordered them, that is. Towards the end of its, towards, I think it was 1942, 1943, they fitted it with, I think it was some upgraded Allison engines, which is when the aircraft had a great boost in performance, which is where it got the nickname the Lightning. Now, certain twin-engined aircraft, like the Heinkel, for instance, are not going to be faster than a 109 because they're so heavy, and they're just big clunky aircraft. In fact, the Heinkel probably would have been better off being powered with 3, maybe 4 engines, judging by the size of it. But now that I've rambled on about historics and how the aircraft performs in the air, we're going to go on to landing. Landing a twin-engined aircraft is really no different from a single-engined aircraft, apart from the fact that you've got 2 engines. Now, before we do anything, notice how the aircraft doesn't want to turn itself to one side. It's not rolling itself. That's the engines doing that. They're both turning in opposite directions, as we can see. And that's a good thing, because we don't have to trim the ailerons with that. I mean, hell, we've still got to trim the elevators if we're planning to fly on level flight and just leave the aircraft. But there is nothing else needed. So, I'm going to come in for quite a wide approach on this one. I think I'm going to come in over the village. So we're going to throttle all the way up for the minute. Something else about the P-38 is it was one of the first Allied aircraft to have 20mm cannons in it, bar the Spitfire Mark V. It had 450 caliber machine guns and a 20mm cannon mounted in the nose. As you can see, they are the machine guns, and the bottom one is the cannon. So I'm now actually going to bring it in for a landing. So we're going to land on the grass airfield again. In a minute, I'm probably going to cover the 262, not the Arado, because the 234 is a bomber. Something else that I was noticing when picking the aircraft is there's quite a lot of concept aircraft that are both in the stock game and come with Ultrapack. I will probably do a separate bonus video, maybe at the end of the series, on those, because I'm just trying to focus on the stock game at the minute. So, we're doing about 108 mile an hour, gear down, and we want to set the flaps. I'm going to go straight for landing flaps, and as before, I'm going to come in over the hangar for my approach. So, balancing the throttle about 30%. We are steadily losing speed, not quickly, but steadily. Bit of rudder in there. I'm actually going to chop the throttle now and pull up on the stick, just gently. Get those back wheels down. Front wheel is down, and that's it. We're on the ground. We can gently start braking. Put the flaps back up. Now, with an aircraft like this, nose at the front, as I've said before, you can apply the brakes as hard as you want because it doesn't stand a chance of flipping over like an aircraft with a tail wheel. And there we go. The P-38. So if we just turn, you can turn both engines off. In fact, if you're flying a 4-engine aircraft, you can turn all the engines off, providing they're all selected, but you can't turn them all on at the same time, unless you have a separate engine start turned off in the difficulty settings. So that was how to fly a P-38. The easiest twin-engined aircraft to fly, in my opinion, due to the simplicity of takeoff and landing. I will see you in a second when we move on to the ME-262. Bear with me. So, we are now on the ME-262, and in all of its glory, here it is. So, the 262 was an aircraft developed in the 1940s, actually, by the Germans, and providing Hitler had given the go-ahead on this thing, it might have even seen service in the Battle of Britain. This thing was in, they had prototypes of this thing and drawings set up as early as 1941, I think. But Hitler said, no, we don't need jets, until it was too late in 1943 when he said, make me a prototype. And then in 1944 it entered service, by which point it was a little bit too late. So, the 262, here it is. It's the one of the twin-engined jet aircraft that is included in the base game, along with things like the MiG-9. I'm not flying the MiG-9 because I flew the 17 last time, so I thought it'd be nice to have a change. But start procedure on the MiG is exactly the same. No, not the MiG. The ME Messerschmitt is exactly the same. Engine 1, start. Engine 2, start. Select both engines. Set the flaps, take off. Now it makes sort of whooshing sound almost, sort of thing. And I don't know if this has got it actually. I know the 109 has, but I thought this had as well. Never mind. The engines, as we can hear, are powering up, and no nose trim is needed on this one. A rudder trim, whatever. It's exactly as I planned. Now, with a jet aircraft, you're probably going to notice that it shouldn't veer off. I could be wrong. I haven't used the 262 in a while, but it shouldn't veer off in one direction. So, if you wanted to use the gun sight as your gun sight view, but as for now, we just have this as our cockpit view. So, with the 260, you have to gently increase the throttle. Otherwise the engines will catch fire because you're adding too much, you're opening the fuel valves too much almost, and adding too much fuel to the mixture. So gently increase the throttle up to about 100%. There we go, that's about 100 there. And as you can see, the aircraft is not veering off to one side. As you can see, very quickly, obtains a speed of 60 miles an hour, 70 miles an hour, 80, 90, and there's 100. We're running out of runway actually, so I'm hoping it'll go up on its own. If not, I'm going to have to give it some encouragement. It needed some encouragement. Right, so as you can see, the 262 is struggling a bit now. Once the gear's up, it should do a bit better. We are still struggling because we haven't quite got enough speed yet. But the 262 handles a lot better than the P-38 in the air. And that's simply because it's got a smaller wingspan. It takes nowhere near as much to turn the aircraft as the P-38. Now, it is quite a fat aircraft, to be honest. It's not a work of art like the P-38 is. It seems fairly improvised. Now, something to note with the 262 is the engines are going to overheat very quickly. It's not designed to be run full throttle for full flights, but it has got one hell of an armament in it. I don't know why, but this one's only firing 2 of its guns, but usually it would have 4 20 or 30mm cannons. I can't quite remember. So, woo. So yep, we have achieved a speed of 310 miles an hour now. So I'm actually going to throttle up a bit more, back to 80%. Now, as you can see, the 262 is having no problem at all climbing. I mean, we have lost quite a lot of speed now. We're only running at 220 miles an hour. But that's it, really. Rudders on jets behave in a very similar way, and so do all the other control surfaces. But landing a jet, as we saw in the last video, is much more complex procedure. So I'm actually going to cut the throttle back to about 4%, and what we're going to do is we're going to start our descent onto the strip. I'm probably going to need some more runway. But I'm actually going to do quite a tight turn just to cut as much velocity as I can, and I'm going to have to go around again because I'm still going way too fast. I don't know why I'm throttling up for. 0% will be good. Go back to 85 for the minute because we are in a quite a sharp turn. The aircraft is struggling now. Come on. There we go. So we lined up the runway, and I'm going to set the throttle to about 40%. We're going to put the gear down, and we're going to set the flaps to landing. Same procedure. Bearing in mind the flaps on the 262 do take quite a long time to come down. But I think we've got this sorted. So quite a steep angle there. I'm actually going to pull up a bit. As you can hear, the airframe, you might be able to hear it, you might not. The airframe is really struggling here. We're not having a good day with the aircraft. But there we go. Bit of a bounce. Ooh. Ooh, bouncy. Bouncy landing. But we were going quite slow. So, wheel brakes on. And we'll just pull over to the side of the runway here. Aha! As you can see, this is what happens when you cut the engine too quickly. Actually, I need to just see which engine it is. I can't quite tell, actually. It's engine 1. I think. Nope, neither of them. Right. So, that was a very brief tutorial on how to fly twin-engined, prop-driven and jet-driven aircraft in IL-2 Sturmovik 1946. Next episode, I'm going to be covering single, twin, four-engined and jet-engined bombers and their uses and how to use them. Episode after that, I'm going to do something like carrier operations, and then after that, I think I am going to go on to dogfighting. After that, I will go on to bomber intercepts, and maybe this isn't a guarantee. I haven't actually got a schedule planned out yet. It's just, do an episode and see how it turns out. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next one. Ta-ra.